Mr. Bobby Umar, President of Realn, on the topic how to create authentic digital connection. Mr. Bobby Umar is an inspirational speaker, coach, and one of the most prolific advocates of heart based leadership in North America. He has been named as the second best business coach to follow on Twitter and the fourth best leadership influencer. And Mr. Craig Bob is an author of three books, including an international first bestseller.
What I'm actually going to talk about today is how to build a thought leadership personal brand and a dive into some content creation. So thanks so much for having me here. I'm very excited to be here. I was listening earlier, and the energy of the crowd and the host was fantastic. So I thought that was really, the host was great. What I'm going to talk about today is getting into defining leadership and personal branding. I'm going to talk about why thought leadership is important. And of course, you like what you're seeing and you're on Twitter or Instagram, you can use my my handle, which is Rehan Bobby, and you can also, of course, use hashtag GDMSE3. I'm going to get into a deeper dive into content creation and how to generate ideas, and then how to get content out there to build a thought leadership personal brand around yourself. And then, of course, we'll have some final thoughts for you, and then I'll open up to Q&A, although I'm open to Q&A if you want to do something in the middle. All right? So I want to start off by sharing with people my why statement. This is something that Simon Sinek talks about. And there are my why statement is there are lost, stuck, or unfulfilled leaders everywhere. And what that means is everywhere I go, I meet people who feel lost in their career, stuck in their jobs, or unfulfilled in their relationships. And so a lot of the work that I do, and the reason why I'm here is because I want to help people who are feeling this way. And that's why it fits across all my programs when I talk about personal branding or speaking or networking and things like that. And my career path has been pretty diverse. I was an engineer and I was in brand marketing. I'm an entrepreneur. I've done Second City comedy, musical theater. But ultimately, that path has been very diverse with a lot of thought leadership and personal branding connection at the very core. So I want to start off by briefly talking about what is leadership and kind of my own definition here. I love this quote, but in particular the part in red, it's about reinforcing core values, articulating the vision, and setting people free. Leadership is about empowering people. And I think that's a really important piece to keep in mind. And my personal philosophy is that leadership is about developing new leaders. So another reason why I'm here and why I want to engage you as much as I can to try to give you the best content I can and close out this conference on a bang, hopefully. Another one I love is leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. Again, another great quote around empowerment. They want to do it because they feel it. They feel like they want to do it. So that's actually really powerful. And for me, leaders connect. They connect with people in a really profound way. They know who they are. They know what they stand for. Leaders also ask the right questions. They ask very big questions like, what if we could land on the moon? They ask questions like, how can we eradicate malaria? They ask questions like, why not have the entire world in the palm of your hand? And they ask questions like, is there life after email? And the whole idea, and of course, these are very, very big, bold questions. You can also ask very smaller questions too. But ultimately, when it comes to leadership, it's really about asking the questions and leadership is something you would want to do. You don't want to step up and be a leader because most people don't step up. And so the question to ask yourself is, do you want to be a leader? Do you want to step up? And if you do, then say, yes, I do, and that's great. But if you don't, that's going to be something that's going to be hard for you to make that impact that you want. And the big leadership question is, what is my personal brand? And I'm a big advocate of personal branding because I find that personal branding is a way for us to really create more clarity, focus, alignment, and impact in our lives. So let me talk briefly about branding, what that is all about. So a lot of people have different definitions of a brand. Here's one where it says a living entity, cumulatively over time, a product of 1,000 small gestures. That's true. A brand is something that has been alive since the very day something was born, whether it's a product or a person. And my definition is that as your brand is a promise to deliver an unmet need. What that means is it's a collection of your experience with a name, a logo, or a symbol. It's essentially the things you remember. So for example, here we have McDonald's and a McDonald's double cheeseburger. Now, when I used to eat there, I don't anymore, but when I used to love that double cheeseburger as a kid. And I would literally just be so excited and so happy with this cheeseburger going to my mouth that I was like, wow, I just can't wait to go back. And what I knew was that McDonald's promised me this delicious piece of happiness and joy in my life. And that's kind of how I related brands to products. So remember that a brand is a promise. Now, the benefits of a good brand are plenty. There's recognition because we recognize a brand of McDonald's or a brand of a Walmart or a Starbucks. There's trust because you trust that they'll give you the same experience or the same kind of feeling. There's a loyalty to the product or the actual the store or brand itself. Market share, of course, comes from good branding because they obviously do well competitively. And then, of course, there's a relationship that's built between you and the company in terms of that branding. And ultimately, the goal of good branding is to increase dollars. But I'm going to add one more thing, which is to increase happiness. A good brand increases happiness. So when I go to McDonald's and have that double cheeseburger, or if I go to Starbucks and I have a bagel and I feel really, or a coffee, the happiness in me increases tremendously. And that happiness leads to more recognition, trust, and loyalty and builds that relationship. So that's important to keep in mind because a good relationship with a brand can be profitable, not in terms of just dollars, but also in terms of happiness. Now, when I worked at Dove, I used to work for Dove Campaign for Beauty. We were working on programs to enhance positive self-esteem in young girls. And it was a really powerful program. And what we found was that a lot of women didn't consider themselves beautiful. And so we ran a program to encourage people feeling beautiful. And that insight led to incredible brand growth, not just double digits, but 20, 30% growth over many, many years because people felt empowered and they resonated with what we were doing. So the question then becomes, what does your company promise to bring? That's the corporate brand. Now, if a corporate brand is a promise delivered to stakeholders, then a personal brand is a promise delivered to everyone you come in contact with. Everyone in this room right now who's watching this, what is your promise to each other? So the question is, what do you promise to bring? Do you promise to bring intelligence? Do you promise to bring authenticity? Do you promise to bring humor, fun, joy? I mean, everyone has different things they bring. For me personally, I try to bring high energy, accessibility, warmth, humor. That's the type of stuff I try to bring. And some of the best brands out there have personalities. Richard Branson has a brand of audaciousness and risk-taking, and that feeds into his brand for Virgin. Barack Obama, when he was president, had a brand of accessibility and thoughtfulness, and that fed down into the government because he would show up on TV shows and be very accessible and answer any questions. Brené Brown is someone who's I love her TEDx talks, and she talks about vulnerability and dealing with shame, and I love what she does. The other guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, is all about the hustle and entrepreneurship, and I love his brand of hustle. And they all bring different types of brands. And your personal brand is both personal and professional. It feeds into both sides. Now, what is the most important concept for leaders in today's digital age to master? It is thought leadership, and that's why I want to talk about that today because it's probably the main thing that I want to get across this audience. And I think it's great to end the conference on this because you've heard from people talking about creating content, talking about leadership, talking about marketing, talking about trying to outdo the competition, be the best you can be. Thought leadership is where you want to go. Now, if you look at these people on this image, can you describe what each of them stand for in a few words? You may say, well, Jay-Z is all about hip hop and R&B. Oprah Winfrey's about personal development and books. Seth Godin's about tribes. Warren Buffett's about financial investments. They all have different things they stand for. And those are all thought leaders. But what exactly is thought leadership? Well, some of the essentials of thought leadership. So if you want to be a thought leader in your field, no matter what it is, let's say you're a shoemaker, let's say you're a nanotechnologist, let's say you're an astronaut, let's say you're a politician or a sports athlete. If you want to be seen as a thought leader in your field, some of the essentials are, you're influencing the conversation of a certain area of expertise. So let's say for myself, I want to be an expert in public speaking. So now I've created content and I'm driving conversations around speaking, public speaking, TEDx talks. That's what I do. You're constantly innovating, disrupting, or evolving. So, if you want to be a thought leader in the field, you want to continually innovate, disrupt, or evolve what's going on in that field. Another example from my standpoint is, as a networking expert, it changes. I've evolved. When social media first came, I had to teach people how to, and learn myself actually, how to become a great networker on social media because at the time people didn't know how to do it, and I also didn't know either. So I had to learn and evolve as a group. As a thought leader, you're answering the biggest question in the minds of your target audience. So if I'm going to be a thought leader in, say, space exploration, what are the biggest questions that Elon Musk is trying to answer? He has to be someone who's answering those questions. And that's why it's important to understand that if you want to be a thought leader. Thought leaders typically build a following with people who seek them out or follow them with expertise. So like when people reach out to me for how do I build my career, how do I get a TEDx talk, how do I become a better speaker, I built that thought leadership brand so they come out to me because I have that following. And ultimately, you get to a point where when an area of expertise is mentioned, their name comes to mind because of a strong personal brand. And there's a great quote by Jeff Bezos from Amazon that said, "The personal brand is what they say when you're not in the room." And what I can tell you is that a thought leadership personal brand is what they say when you enter a room. They're like, "Oh, look at that person. They are really good at this and this," because they know who you are. And that's ultimately where you want to be and you can be. Now, in order to build thought leadership, there are three main criteria or steps. The first one is every thought leader, like Oprah, like Jay-Z, like Gary Vaynerchuk, and all those people on the previous pages, you must learn to network authentically, build deep relationships, have tons of connections. So Oprah has a broad range of connections. She also has quite a few deep connections. So we have to continually be working on networking and building deep relationships. Number two, every thought leader creates and generates awesome ideas and content. Jay-Z is writing songs. Oprah is writing books. Gary Vaynerchuk is doing videos. Warren Buffett is writing financial investment reports. But you have to keep creating more ideas and content. And then number three, you have to master public speaking and communication skills. That includes both speaking and writing. All of those people before were writing blogs, they're speaking on stage, they're going to panels, they're sharing their expertise via the written word or by speaking. And so it's important to, as you want to be a speaker, you want to get, and want to be a thought leader, you want to work on your speaking and communication. Now, most of us are good at one of these things. Some of us are good networkers, some of us are good idea generators. Others of us are good at writing or speaking. But ideally, you can develop all three. And the more you develop all three of them, the more achievement and impact you will have as a thought leader in your space. And why is being a thought leader important? Well, when you are seen as the expert with a solid reputation, you have a huge network, and you're owning the conversation, then opportunities will come to you because you are memorable. You will have the confidence to go after opportunities. And connections, customers, clients, colleagues will follow you. Now I can tell you that my path on social media, when I first started social media back in the day, it was I didn't have very much following. I had 200 followers on Twitter, and I just started a fan page, and I started a newsletter, and I just joined LinkedIn. I had 4,000 followers, and just started a YouTube channel. And since then, I've now amassed 456,000 followers on Twitter, 2,000 Facebook fans. I've had 100,000 views on my YouTube. I have 30,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I've built it up through content, thought leadership generation, networking, and all that kind of stuff. And it's served me well, and it's given me a lot of the accolades that my nice kind introducer has already mentioned. 500,000 followers and second best business coach and things like that. And has it helped me to build a thought leadership brand? Absolutely. I was named one of the top 100 leadership speakers alongside Richard Branson. I've done 5 TEDx talks. I write for the Huffington Post now. And ultimately, I have been able to, use that to my advantage. Now, for today, because we don't have time to go in all three, I want to focus on one area that I'm going to help you become a better thought leader. Okay, and it's all about content. How do we create and generate awesome ideas and content? And the importance of content, we know that content is important, but if you're sharing photos, you're getting 2 times more the relevance and the impact. If you're sharing videos, you're getting 12 times more the impact. So content is important, but more particularly photos and video. And you'll see that I'm a huge proponent of that, because if anyone has connected with me on LinkedIn or followed me on LinkedIn, you'll know that I now do daily LinkedIn Live posts where I talk to my audience. I upload videos. I'm really mostly a video and live stream. And here's what they say. 82% of employees say that they trust a company more when the CEO and leadership team communicate via social media. 39% of C-suite execs and decision makers say thought leadership content had influenced them to ask a vendor to participate in the RFP process, request for proposal. 47% said such content had a direct impact in awarding business, and 80% of respondents said strong thought leadership pieces had increased their trust in an organization. So if you have an organization, whatever it might be, whether it's real estate or commerce or financial investments, are you creating content around thought leadership and driving the conversation? You should be doing that. So the deep dive into content, how do I develop content ideas to escalate my thought leadership personal brand? So step one, you have to start with your target. Who is your target? And look at some demographic data. Are you dealing with millennials or boomers or Are you doing laptop, mobile, industry, women, men, youth, young people? It's important for you to know exactly who your target is. For me, like my target has always been 27 to 49-year-old entrepreneurial women. But that doesn't mean I don't serve older people, younger people, or men in my work. It's just that I have a focused target that my content and everything that I'm speaking about serves. Now, the first thing you want to do to create more content is you want to track some new ideas. So how do I get some ideas? There are many sources for the new ideas for your content around you and your business. First off, you can track your ideas on your phone, and just if you have an idea and you walk, let's say you're at an event, or let's say at this current event, you're at GDMS E3 conference, and Bobby or some previous speaker says something really amazing. You write that out on your phone. You're like, what? I want to talk about the lessons learned from that event. That right away is automatic content. In fact, all of you, if you want to, and I'll share this with you, if you want to create your top 3 learnings from my presentation, and you put that on LinkedIn, you tag me, I will like and comment on that, and I'll give you access to my 30,000 followers. Is that worth something to you? If it is, then do it. Are you a leader that wants to step up? Then do it. Another way to track ideas is a Word document. So I keep a lot of my old presentations and things that I've said or posted on a Word document. Sometimes going to the FAQ, a frequently asked question of any sort of website, can actually give you some insights into what questions people are asking about your topic. Quora is a great place to look for questions. So right here is an example of a photo on Quora where people are asking, well, what is the easiest way to build a personal brand? How do you build your online presence? How can I start personal branding? These are all questions that are fantastically good for me to create a video about or an article about and just start talking about it. You can also crowdsource, go on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and say, hey, I want to do a blog post or a video on real estate. What are your biggest questions? I want to talk about mental health. What are your biggest questions? And see what people say. People are a fantastic crowdsource. And then once you've actually gotten their feedback and their input, when you finally post it, you can probably tag them. They're like, oh, yes, I remember this. And they'll be glad to be acknowledged for their contribution. And then, of course, there's great software out there like Evernote to help you track new ideas. But ultimately, you want to be able to track your new ideas as you go along. Now, number 2, we have to think about the content types to create. So if you're trying to create content, and again, I normally focus on LinkedIn, Instagram, but the Twitter and Facebook are also good too. But LinkedIn and Instagram are the hot ones right now, where you can get a lot of traction. So there are 7 strong and easy and effective forms to create content. So one is a quote, right? So can you quote someone famous or quote something that really resonates with you? Talk about why it's important to you. That's a great way to create automatic content. You can share a well-known story. You can share a story of the chicken and the egg, or share the story of the wolf, the boy who cried wolf, or share a story of some sort of fairy tale that everyone knows. Or it could be not a well-known story, but ultimately these well-known stories are great for content as long as, of course, you give your take on it. Don't just share the story, give your take on it. You can share your own story. I mean, we all have stories from our lives about what was it like when I was younger growing up, what were some of my biggest challenges, talking about a success I had, talking about that time I went to a conference and I heard from Bobby Umar, and here are the 3 things I learned. These are all things that you can actually share as part of your own story. You can also just share an idea, a learning you had, a lesson. So an idea you had walking down the street, or the idea you had from a mentor, something you learned from me or someone else, a lesson you have or you want to share. Another big thing you can do is you can talk about a day in the life. This is something that a lot of people do on Instagram, where they share the day in their life and what they've been doing. Here's me now at the beach. Here's me now writing my blog. Here's now me meeting with a client. That whole day in the life format is actually quite a powerful way to show exactly, what you do with your work. Another really powerful form of content is vulnerability. Talk about something you're struggling with. Some people struggle with mental health. Other people struggle with time management or overwhelm or burnout. And some of these discussions around vulnerability and burnout have been powerful ways to create content, create engagement, build a followership, and people remember that. When I go online and I talk about times when I'm struggling, people like that, because even though I'm a professional speaker and I travel around the world speaking, it's good to show people that you're human, you have dark days, you have challenges. It makes you more normal and human. I think that creating more human connection is one of the most authentic ways to get that following and to create the impact you want. Another easy thing you do is you can interview someone. Just yesterday on LinkedIn, I interviewed somebody, and that worked really, really well. So I actually interviewed somebody. You can interview a partner, an employee, you can interview someone who inspires you, but ultimately you can interview people and use that as content. The other thing you want to get better at when it comes to content is better storytelling. And stories are really great because they allow our imperfections to be set in a context that shows that we are good people. So, let me tell you a little story, okay? Years ago, I met this lovely young woman, and she was out of university, and she was really, really nice and smart, and had some really great ideas. And next thing you know, I fell in love, and we wanted to get married, but it was very hard because my family had trouble with different cultures, getting married. But after a lot of hard work and a lot of love and a lot of determination, and talk to my parents, next thing you know, we got married and we had this beautiful cultural wedding, which was fantastic. We had a great time. And next thing you know, we had beautiful beige babies, and now our kids are the loves of our life. Now that's a very, very short story, right? I spent like 45 seconds on that story, but the story had a happy ending. Now, storytelling is a powerful method to evoke imagery and emotion. Most of you probably could relate to what I was talking about. You may know someone who's going through something similar. Storytelling allows you to make it your own. People relate because of their own experience. And storytelling allows you to say more than you're saying. Stories can display you or your organization's values, your beliefs, and your culture, which is kind of what I did with that story. Now, how did I do that story? Well, I established the setting of meeting the woman, and I built the plot, and I mentioned there was a crisis. You can talk about how the characters change, and you describe the lessons learned from people. And one of the lessons I learned from that story, actually, which I didn't tell you, which is, when your parents love you and they support you, they'll come around and they'll actually want you to be happy. And that's what happened there. My parents are on board, everything's great, and now we have the wonderful children. So being a better storyteller is going to be great for you to create better content. And storytelling, you want to make sure you keep it very simple. You want to make sure even a 10-year-old can understand what you're talking about. Now, number 4, and again, I'm going to talk about this a lot, but I think you should do video, and more video. Video is the future now. If you want to create connection with people and to create and build authentically, you want to do more video. By 2021, video will account for 82% of all consumer internet traffic, according to Cisco. 70% of people view brands in a more positive light after watching interesting video content from them. And if a picture paints 1,000 words, then 1 minute of a video is worth 1.8 million words, according to Force's research. That is huge. And so I recommend you actually start thinking about doing 1-minute videos, 4-minute videos, and 8 to 10-minute long videos. 1-minute videos are good for a quick nugget or a tip. 4-minute videos are good to dive into one topic and give you your top 3 ideas or top 5 ideas. And then 8 to 10-minute long video is good for a quick interview. It's good for diving into a topic on a deeper level to maybe train people on something. But those types of video links are great for all the platforms, internet, IGTV, as well as LinkedIn and Twitter. Twitter works with 1 to 2-minute videos. Facebook, you can also do 1, 4, and 10-minute videos. What are some tools you can use? Well, there's lots of great tools out there. I mean, I use video tools like Periscope on Twitter. Having a live stream is great because people love things that are live. They love to be accessible to you. It gives you a strong ROR, which is return on your relationship. There's also Facebook Live, and now there's LinkedIn. And actually, LinkedIn videos I'm putting up there. And actually, LinkedIn just launched LinkedIn Live. So I've actually recently launched a LinkedIn live stream. I have a beta access to it. It's going to be launched all around, but for now I have it. And if you want to join me there, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm there for 20 minutes just sharing content and engage people live, which is amazing. And the truth is, when it comes to video content, if you're hemming and hawing, you're not sure, the question is, again, you can either react to change, embrace change, or you can create the change. So I took on LinkedIn Live. I took on video. I think you guys should too. And if there's any way I can help you, I have lots of ways to help you. But if I can help you even during this talk, I ask questions at the very end, and I'll get you going. And number 5, speaking of LinkedIn, since I talked about it, LinkedIn has been a really big game changer. And what I can tell you is that ever since Microsoft bought LinkedIn about 2 years ago, things have been going really, really well. They've really invested a lot of time and energy into changing it for the better. And I've been really impressed with what's been going on. In fact, I used to not be on LinkedIn. I would share articles there, not spend any time there. And then 2 years ago, a friend of mine said, "Bobby, you gotta get on LinkedIn. It's changed. It's better." I'm like, "Really? Okay, fine." So what I did was I started sharing a daily tip every day, and I can tell you within 5 days, I had hundreds of people looking at my content. It was actually quite impressive. Now at the time, I only had 8,000 connections on LinkedIn, but it started growing really, really fast until I hit 30,000. But it was actually quite impressive. And people started doing LinkedIn meetups. So now LinkedIn local meetups are happening all around the world. So it's transitioning people on LinkedIn the platform to meeting people live. So now we're doing LinkedIn local meetups all around the world. And I've done one in Toronto. I uploaded this video, and if you take a look at this video, which kind of is quite compelling, actually before I show that one, uh, look at the views below. 66,000 views. I've never had anything like that in my life. That's ridiculously good. Like on Facebook Lives, I've had maybe 5,000 views. YouTube, I've had the most 20,000 views but from one of my TED talks. But this is just a simple 3-minute video I posted on LinkedIn, and I got 65,000 views. That's incredible because LinkedIn's pushing the algorithm to do well. So I think you should get on there. And then here's one where I did a video and I screwed up and I didn't, and I bet I was very authentic and vulnerable, but I couldn't figure out the tech on my upside down video, so I just posted it. Who cares, right? And I turned it into a lesson. I said, you know what? I'm going to post this. I'm still talking. Here's the lesson learned, and I still got 5,000 views on this video. And even text-based posts, like so, videos are great, but text-based posts work well too. Here's one where I shared just one about vulnerability. I talked about dealing with dark days. Look at below, 80,000 views, right? So if you look at 66,000, 80,000 views, my best one is actually at 200,000 views. But again, you can get really, really great traction on LinkedIn. And even more so, you can have access to people. So at one point, Miguel Forbes reached out to me on LinkedIn. He sent me a personal message. He said, "Hey, I like what you're doing," and we started connecting. And so what's happening is you can actually access influencers and actually respond back, which is actually pretty cool. So we talk about thought leadership branding. Number one, we want to track new ideas. We want to understand the content types to create. We want to focus on having better storytelling, video, more video, and we want to leverage the new LinkedIn. And I also want to talk briefly about social media connection. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter are really big. I should also mention that Instagram is also really huge now, so you want to make sure you're using that. But the truth is, if you want to connect with people, if everyone you target is on a platform, you need to be there too. So I don't typically use Pinterest, but I know Pinterest is great for visual things like interior design, baking, fitness. Same with Instagram. And so if you want to build a business in those areas, a visual platform like Pinterest and Instagram, you should be there too. I don't think you should be everywhere, but if you have to pick one, start with LinkedIn, get Instagram. I think that's a good two to start with. But ultimately, I think that if you really want to build things, I think the integration of LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and if you have a YouTube channel, that's great. But I'm saying right now, I'm saying to invest in LinkedIn to start because that's where the business is, that's where the opportunity is. And again, a lot of people have struggled with this. One of the things I'll tell you is that everyone needs a coach. It doesn't matter whether you're a basketball player, a tennis player, a gymnast, or a bridge player. I have a coach for my healthy living, my fitness. I have a coach for my own business. I coach people on speaking. I coach people on career development. So it's so important to have coaches because they can help you 10x your business and 10x your growth. Now, how do we get that content out there? That's the other question. You put together the content. Now I want to get it out there in an authentic way. The first thing is you need to know your expertise. Now, if you've done work on personal branding and knowing what your brand is, then you'll know what your expertise is. You'll know who your target is, and you know what type of stuff to do. So we already talked about knowing your expertise and brand, but that's the number one thing before you even get content out there. Then you take that content and you distribute it everywhere you go. You speak on stage, you do blogs, you do video blogs, you can write an ebook, you do podcasts, you do webinars, you do tweet chats. You can find other ways to distribute content. Put a PowerPoint on SlideShare. One of the first things I did way back in the day was I had a networking keynote and I had PowerPoint slides and I put them actually on SlideShare, and then people just loved the slides and started reaching out to me saying, "Hey, I love these slides. Can you come in and do a topic about networking?" I'm like, "Sure, I can." How nice is that? So you have to get that content out there. Now, obviously, you don't have time to do everything, but I think you could try to dabble in a few of the ones that you feel comfortable with. I still encourage every single one of you. I don't care who you are, every single one of you. I think you should do video content. Absolutely. And if you're scared of starting out, I have a community called Master Video where we actually help people build confidence through video. It's a private group, but if you want to know more about that, just let me know. And again, once you've actually distributed the content, you have to engage people, you have to follow up, you have to empower, you have to evolve. So engage people with comments. Don't just ignore people's comments. They're actually there listening to you saying something. Say something back. Follow up on people's messages when they say something. Empower people to share their own content, ask their own questions, and then evolve with your content as people give you feedback and evolve your content to grow. Like another example here is that my LinkedIn live stream, which is every morning at 8:30, I've only been doing it for 2 weeks. So I ask people for feedback almost every week because I want to get better and better and try to create content that people resonate with. So always evolve and ask for feedback. And again, another way to get content out there, again, if you want to execute the thought leadership program, you define the strategy that aligns with your growth strategy. So what I would do is I would work with someone and say, okay, what's your thought leadership brand and what's the strategy to get you where you want to go? Then we start publishing the assets to enable your go-to-market process. And then once we're done, we then engage customers using a mix of marketing, media, and sales channels. And that's how you build a program around your thought leadership. Again, no matter what kind of thought leadership brand you're trying to build. So some final thoughts from my talk. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So you got to make the moves to start doing the work and getting from good to great to thought leader to incredible. And again, you got to want it. You got to want to step up. You got to want to apply the knowledge. You got to want to be willing to do the work. And if you are willing to do the work and you need the help, I'm here to help you. Other people are here to help you. Everyone in this conference is here to help you. Let's help you get to where you want to go.